Thank you, Mayor Waters. The lands we know today as the Township of Centre Wellington have been home to Indigenous people since time immemorial. We acknowledge that we are on the treaty lands and traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee. With increasing encroachment by non-Indigenous settlers in the Township of Centre Wellington, the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee could not continue their traditional lifestyle and settled in their villages along the Credit River and in the Grand River Valley. These Indigenous nations uphold their treaty rights within our jurisdiction. Today, the Township of Centre Wellington remains home to Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island. We are grateful to have the opportunity to share and respect Mother Earth and are committed to building constructive and cooperative relationships with Indigenous nations.
Thank you, Councillor Jefferson. Addendums and corrections to the agenda? There are none. Disclosure of pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. Okay, seeing none. We now are going to move into closed session so that the Council of Township of Centre Wellington convene in closed session in accordance with Section 2392E and F of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended concerning litigation and potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality and advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Wilton, seconded on that. Councillor Evoy, any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? So we're moving now into closed session and we'll reconvene around 2 o'clock. Okay, let's reconvene into open sessions. Matters arising from closed session. There was nothing coming out of closed. And so we move down to item 8, presentation and announcements. And I see Barb in the audience there. And Barb, do you want to come up and introduce our local artists here for us? Welcome, Barb.
Mayor Waters and Council, thanks for having us again. The Elora Fergus Arts Council is delighted to present Judy Eckhart, and her work, you can see, is behind us here. She's a phenomenal quilter and embroiderer. She's a member of several guilds, the Guelph Quilt Guild and the Grand Quilt Guild, and is very engaged in much to do. For many, many years, she was a teacher, and her roots go very deep in Central Wellington, back several generations. And I just want to shut up now and let Judith talk. So I hope you will welcome her. Thanks.
I was going to say.
Well, welcome, Judy.
Thank you very much. And I'm very pleased to be here. I hardly know what to say. I'm used to sort of standing up and teaching, not telling about myself. I've been sewing since I was 13 years old. Some of you from Centre Wellington will know the name Marion McEwen. She was my first family studies teacher, and we have remained friends our entire lives. And she got me launched. And but I didn't start quilting until 2 of you were in grade 7 and 8. It was about that long ago. So the 2 of the girls here I have known since they were, well, one of them since she was a little girl. In fact, when she went to her prom, she wore a dress that wore a dress that I had made for my daughter. We were upcycling. Your mom was very big into that. I think the thing that I would like to leave with you, besides my love of anything to do with the textile art, and I consider quilts art, is that they are lasting from generation to generation to generation. Both of my grandparents or grandmothers were quilters, one of whom I never got to know, but I have one of her quilts in my house. I joined I've been retired for 25 years. I volunteered with the Fergus Fall Fair for 25 years. I've helped out with all the Wellington County plowing matches since 2000 in the rain. And I've been teaching a whole second career since I retired of quilting, and now a lot of hand embroidery. One of the most treasured things in my life right now is the Grand Quilt Guild. And the Grand Quilt Guild has come to the council several times now for support for our quilt shows. And I must say, we appreciate that greatly. But it goes beyond just you giving us money, because we bring in thousands of people to our quilt shows. And that's a trickle effect into the community. I'm a proud 6th generation Canadian. My ancestors settled in North Wellington County. So I didn't migrate far when I came to Fergus. I came here in '63 to teach, and I've never left. And Doug and I were married 60 years ago this summer, and we've lived here ever since. First in Fergus and now in Elora. Anyway, I love to quilt. I love to share my thoughts on quilting. And if you want to learn how to quilt, I can help you learn it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Judy. Any questions or comments for Judy, or maybe some ex-students here might want to say a word or two?
No, thank you so much, Judy, for coming. And yes, a little walk down memory lane of the prom dress, so that's good. But no, I really appreciate having the art here all the time, Barb. So thank you for the program. But it's really nice this time. We don't often see the kind of fabric and quilt art. So it's kind of unique and different.
The fact that the arts community in Elora is recognizing textile work as art is a big stretch from where it was 25 years ago because they weren't accepted as quilt back then. But boy, you want to see some fabulous art, you come to one of our shows or you come to the embroiderers show next spring because it's just phenomenal what people are now doing with textile.
Yeah, thank you.
Councillor McDonald?
Through you, Mayor Waters, I have made a quilt, a log cabin quilt, and it has lasted. I have my great-grandmother's quilt from Salem, Ontario, and so they are important. I especially love the one with the orcas on it.
That's my latest one.
It's beautiful.
And
it's beautiful.
It won a ribbon at the Fergus Fair this year.
Wow. And so thank you so much.
Thank you.
They're gorgeous.
Thank you, Judy. Okay, now we'll go down to Mayor's County Council report. So instead, I'm gonna push that one out, but I'm also gonna welcome Adam Gilmore here today. I appreciate you've been with the team for a long time now, and it's now you have taking on a new role, and I see a happy person there in the background, Pat. There, thumbs up. And it's fantastic that you'll be in this new position and again, sharing sort of your history and understanding of the community. And I think you bring a lot of different skill sets to the new job. And of course, Pat, we will miss you greatly.
She's going to be sitting back there. You are.
I doubt it. But anyways, appreciate you being here at our first meeting. So with that being said, I'm going to move down to item 8.3, Councillors Committee Updates. And I'm looking for any councillors updates. Yes, Councillor Wilton.
Just a short update that the Fergus BIA had their AGM last week, and it was all quite smooth. No big issues there or anything. So they've got all their plans for next year all pretty mapped out. So that's good. And then their big thing coming up is the Sip and Shop nights, December 5th and December 12th. So good excuse to go over and shop downtown Fergus.
Thank you, Councillor Wilton. Any other folks want to comment on any other committees? Okay, seeing none, then we'll move down. No delegations. Consent items. Consent agenda items are considered routine in nature and voted on collectively. However, any member of council may request one or more items be removed from the consent agenda for separate action. I'll just read the recommendation that the Council Township of Centre Wellington approve consent agenda items 10.2 through to 10.3. I'll ask for a mover in a second and then we can open it for comments if that's okay. Sorry, 10.2 through 10. Oh yeah. So yeah, I'm just reading the recommendation. It should be 10.1.
The consent item.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Good catch. So it should be 10.2 through to 10.3. Do you have a mover for that? Councillor McDonald, seconder on that. Councillor Adams. Okay, open for questions, comments. Councillor Wilton.
Yeah, thank you. I was just curious in the 10.2, the budget engagement survey results, there were a few kind of specific questions about Bissell Park, like comments, I guess, in the comment section of the survey. I was just curious if there is an update on what's happening with the Bissell Park ice pad. Yeah, Adam, first day on the job there.
Lifts Adam.
Yes, so thanks, Councillor Wilton. So through the mayor, so we will be presenting a more fulsome update on Bissell Park at the December 2nd budget meeting. We plan on bringing forward a report at that meeting with an update on where we're at and what the next steps will be in 2026 on that project.
Any other comments? Good. Okay, we have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? So moved. Okay, we're going to move down to number 11, consideration of reports. 11.1, Guelph Owen Sound Transportation, GHOST, license amendment agreement. And who will speak to this?
We should be on his way up.
Oh.
Just like thinking that the other items would take.
Okay, so why don't we do this? Let's skip this down. We'll go down to item 11.2, if that's okay. Additional residence unit, ARU, zoning regulation update. Now report from Brett Salmon.
Right. Thank you, Mayor Waters. Through you. As council is aware, we've been working on updated regulations to deal with additional residential units in the township. And this is kind of the second go at it. In 2022, we passed a bylaw based on the Planning Act regulations in effect at that time. And then subsequently in 2022, the province changed the Planning Act provisions so that we're now required in an urban area with municipal services to allow 3 dwellings per lot. And that could be 3 dwellings in what is called the principal dwelling. So 1 building with 3 dwellings in it, or any combination, including 1 in a detached dwelling. And so that's a little bit different than what was in our bylaw previously. So we needed to amend the zoning again. County of Wellington addressed those requirements in their County OPA 123. They were recently approved by the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing. So those policies are in effect. So we're bringing forward our proposed zoning now. We held a public meeting in April. We didn't receive any oral or written submissions in opposition to the regulations. So now that OPA 123 is approved, we're ready to bring these forward. The regulations that we're proposing are substantially the same as council saw in April at the public meeting. The only thing that we've added is in looking at some of our other municipalities in the area, based on the need to get access to an additional residential unit. If it's in a basement, it needs a stairwell down to the basement if access is from the outside. We've added a requirement that there be an unobstructed walkway to provide access to the main entrance for that additional residential unit. So that's been added to the bylaw. There's a few things that we've cleaned up in terms of out-of-date regulations as well. And so we're satisfied that the amending zoning bylaw is ready for council to adopt. It meets the provisions of the Planning Act. It's consistent with the PPS, and it conforms to the county OP based on OPA 123. And then we've provided, just for council's information, most municipalities, after they've completed their additional residential unit regulations, they produce kind of a guide for people. And so I've provided an example just from the County of Brant, and that's what we intend to do, is create a similar kind of guideline to help people through the process. Most of the people that are going to be bringing forward these additional residential units, particularly when it's in a rear yard detached building, they'll be kind of new to the idea of developing housing on their lots. There's plenty of things to take into account that the guide is useful for. So that's it.
Thank you, Brett. Comments, questions? Councillor McDonald.
Through you, Mayor Waters. So with this change, does this bypass the Committee of Adjustment?
This change will have eliminated many of the regulations that were causing people to need variances to be able to have them. Yes, so there'll be fewer variance applications.
Okay. Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, I'm going to read the, is there any additional or any further thought that way, or?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Waters. I have heard from residents, and they're not liking residential units in backyards, you know, where they've normally enjoyed their pool and they're going out in the morning to water their flowers in pajamas. This is just one story, and someone's peeking down at them from an ARU in the backyard. And that wasn't why they bought their house 30 years ago. And so I think, you know, we allowed the intensification, and we're allowing this. And this is some of the fallout just of the negative comments that I'm getting. So I just want to put that out there.
That's understood. But we're required to accommodate. In fact, the policy statement uses the language facilitate the inclusion of these units. we're supposed to make it easy.
And our infrastructure, where these are going, it can handle it. Our sewers, our water, everything, it can handle it because I don't know, in Ward 1, there's constant infrastructure replacement that we're doing. And so I just want to ask that as well.
Well, I think in general terms, the idea of intensification in general is that there's fewer people living in those neighborhoods today than there were a long time ago. So there's less demand on the infrastructure. But I think if you look at the guide, you'll see that one of the things that is going to be a requirement, if somebody puts in 3 units, it's possible that there'll need to be a review at the building permit stage as to whether the water service connection to that residence is adequate. And if it needs to be upgraded, that'll be on the occupants or the homeowner's cost to upgrade that service.
Any further comments or questions as it relates to this report? Okay. I'll read the recommendation that the Council of Township of Centre Wellington adopt a zoning bylaw amendment to regulate additional residential units in Centre Wellington, and that the Council of Township of Centre Wellington confirms that further public notice is not required. Do I have that the corresponding bylaw be given 3 readings and passed. Do I have a mover on that? Councillor Wilton, seconder on that. Councillor Jefferson, any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's so moved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll move back up to 11.5 or 11.1, Guelph Owen Sound Transportation GHOST License Amendment Agreement, and we'll welcome George to the lectern. Welcome, George.
Thank you, Mayor Waters and members of council. The report before you is basically an execution of a licensing amendment agreement that currently exists between the township and the city of Owen Sound regarding the operation of the Guelph Owen Sound Transportation Service. Background is simple. The provincial funding for the service has been extended. The city of Owen Sound has reached out to amend the existing agreement to support the operation to the expiry date. And there's 2 background documents which gives you the cost and stop information to travel within the network, as well as the proposed licensing agreement for the mayor and clerk's authorization.
Okay, thank you, George. Comments, questions? Councillor Wilton.
Thank you, Mayor Waters, and thank you, George. I was just curious what the township already does or maybe could do more of to market the service to make sure people in the community know that they can get the bus for $5 down to Guelph. So I'm just kind of...
I think one thing we could possibly do is consider discussion with the communications office of how to make that aware of what services exists. We probably can put in our community profile to say the 6 services in as another option to communicate the messaging.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful just because I think it's a good service and it's only $5 to get a ride down to Guelph, which is pretty great. So it'd be nice to see or make sure our residents know as much as they can about it.
Through Mayor Waters, another thing we're doing is through the transit feasibility study, we're seeing if there's possible integration approaches with the GHOST, which would be good as well and help cross market and actually connect to GHOST going forward.
Councillor McDonald.
Through you, Mayor Waters. I used to take the old cheese can bus that was running to University of Guelph for 40 years. It was $5 each way then. So I'm happy to see the rate. I agree with Councillor Wilton on that for sure. It was the same with that bus too. It was the advertising and getting the word out there, and ridership was down on it. So I think that's important. So I like the idea of integration, but I also, I only see this cost going up, but we need the accessibility piece.
Any other comments or questions for George? I think obviously very happy about the continuation of the program. I think it's not just only good for our community, but for that stretch that's along the GHOST, which is to the northern communities, and obviously folks in the Guelph area. And it's part of the steps that we need to take in terms of We're in a big program here to look at how we deal with transportation overall, and this is just very exciting, and it just speaks to the need of this, and obviously keeping the province apprised of that as well, which is really important because as we move forward with transit in our community, that we'll be talking to the province lots about it. So anyways, I'll read the recommendation that the Council of Township of Central Wellington authorize the mayor and clerk to execute a licensing amendment agreement between the Corporation of the City of Owen Sound and the Corporation of Township of Central Wellington regarding the operations of Guelph Owen Sound Transportation Service within the township. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Wilton, seconder on that. Councillor Craddock, any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's so moved. Thank you, George. We're moving down to item 11.3, annual termite report, and Adam will speak to that.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Waters. This report is before council to provide an update on the termite management program for 2025. As of October 15th, 2025, the township has issued 69 subsidy payments under the program. Of the 69 payments issued, 55 pertain to the red zone properties, or approximately 21% of the 259 identified in the survey, and 11 in the blue or buffer zone, or approximately 5% of the 219 identified in the survey, and as it turns to the blue zone. Annualizing the subsidy payments issued in 2025, we can anticipate approximately $152,000 in expenses for the 2025 calendar year. Using this program update as a proxy for future funding needs, staff are recommending amending the financial program contributions for 2026 and future years. Recommendations stemming from this report are as follows. Number one, that the report be received by council for information. Number two, that the Council of the Township of Centre Wellington approves the removal of Aetna Pest Control as one of their preferred vendors. And three, that consideration be given to amending the OLG allocation policy and 2026 staff draft budget direction to coincide with the financial analysis detailed in the report. And with that, I'm happy to field any questions.
Okay, comments, questions for council? Councillor McDonald.
Through you, Mayor Waters, is it possible for our website to get an updated map of which zones have been treated? I did hear from one resident, and she said it's made a huge difference that she's not seeing any sign of termites at her property. Also, how are we engaging the public? So when houses move and things like that, that they know that this process is available to them. Just more communication strategy, I guess.
Yeah,
sorry, it's twofold.
Yeah, no problem. Through the mayor, in terms of the first question pertaining to updated maps, that's certainly something staff can take back and have a look into. As it pertains to the marketing and promotion, we'd engaged with the vendors with the understanding that the impetus would be on them for the program benefit, as there is a financial benefit to them to encounter more and more properties to ensure that the program is rolled out effectively. That said, our website is up to date with all of the program and subsidy information. But again, that's perhaps something that we could take back, but really the program was geared towards the vendors of record being responsible for the marketing of the program itself.
Councillor Evoy.
Through you, sir, thank you. And actually to align with Councillor McDonald, I live very close to the zone and I see a lot of people using wood chips, and I can't help but notice that people are still unaware, and also that our numbers are quite low. And we worked very hard to make sure that we had this opportunity for our residents. I think rather than just wait for the company to take it on, I think they should be encouraged by our staff to say part of having this contract is getting the word out there, and that they ought not be counting on us. And I really do think that there needs to be a stronger awareness, and I get it's not on us, but we've aligned with the company to take it on, and I believe we should be nudging them to say, get the word out there so people know. It's a lack of knowledge. I see it like two doors down.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Yeah, no, just as, you know, obviously we have press covering this, and maybe even speaking to and hopefully it gets picked up in terms of the local papers and media. That way, that this program is a great program. It gives you an ability to help, and the goal is to eradicate termites. We know that it's a problem not just in Elora, but it's also a problem in Fergus. And really, there's a real opportunity to work with the township that way to help offset those costs. And it's a really important program. And we're hoping that people would take advantage of this and whatever we can do on our end and encourage everyone to sort of chat about it more, because it's the uptake is really important. So anyways, leaving it at that, I will read the recommendation that the Council of Township of Centre Wellington receive report PLNN 2025-45 annual termite report for information, and that the Council of Township of Centre Wellington approves the removal of Aetna Pest Control as one of the preferred contractors installing a Centricon product in the Township of Centre Wellington, and that consideration being given to amending the OLG allocation policy and 2026 staff draft budget direction to coincide with the financial analysis detailed in report PLNL 2025-45. Do you have a mover for that? Councillor Evoy, seconder on that. Councillor McDonald, any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's so moved. Thank you, Adam. OLG funding allocation policy, and you're still here.
That I am. And thank you, Mayor Waters. And again, through you, this report is before Council seeking amendment to the Township's OLG funding allocation policy and Council direction to use these new allocations for the purposes of setting the 2026 staff draft budget. The report details the 2025 proceeds thus far and provides full year estimated values of proceeds from OLG, these approximating $2.8 million. Currently, the policy in place has the funds being directed 92% to township capital, 4% to community impact grants, 2% to heritage, and the residual 2% to termite management. With the report that was previously provided to council, staff are recommending that the 2% termite management allocation be reverted to economic development, with all else remaining status quo for the purpose of the 2026 budgeting year. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions the council may have.
Okay, for Adam, comment, questions. Councillor Wilton.
Thank you, Mayor Waters, and thank you, Adam. Just curious, so a few things I was thinking about when I read the report was that with the affordability crisis we're in, there's maybe other ways we can use some of this money to help our community and to help residents within our community. So I was thinking of different ways that maybe we could do this. So I was curious about Heritage, and I was just wondering if you would be able to share if Heritage has money in their reserve fund. If we potentially took the 2% and did not allocate it to Heritage this year, would they still have funds to be able to do the work they like to do?
Yep. Through the mayor, we're anticipating the end of year balance in the Heritage Reserve to be just north of $200,000. But as you'll know, that reserve funds the grant and some funding to support the grant as it pertains to the heritage initiatives currently underway at the township. We expect the transfers from the reserve to fund the 2026 heritage program to be in the vicinity of $87,000. So while we do have funds available, the longevity would be jeopardized if we don't continue that allocation, understanding that the 2% allocation would be in the vicinity of $54,000 of the $2.8 million. So our spend would be more than the contribution within the confines of 2026 calendar year. That said, if it was on a temporary measure, there would be enough to sustain the program for the 2026 period, and we could reconvene for future years.
Great. Follow up?
Yep.
So thank you for that information. And I do think it's great that we review this policy annually, because it gives us the flexibility to be somewhat nimble given the community needs in that. So I really appreciate that. So I would actually like to suggest an alternative approach for 2026. And given that we recently, don't know why I put the note like this in my notes, but anyway, that we passed report number plan 2025-37, which was the housing action plan and housing based on the housing needs assessment and to a housing committee, that if we could transfer the 2% to a housing reserve fund for 2026, that would give our new housing action committee a small seed money kind of fund to work from. And we could work towards our goals of supporting the facilitation of affordable housing within Centre Wellington. And I think since it's annually, this is a kind of one-time thing only, perhaps. And then next year, well, it might be a whole new council next year at this time, but that could be reviewed again and switch back to Heritage if necessary at the time. But at least it would give a small amount of seed money towards the affordable housing initiatives we want to pursue over the next few years. So that would be my suggestion. Thank you.
Comment, question, go ahead, Councillor Evoy.
Through you, sir. Thank you, Councillor Wilton. I think that's an outstanding idea that I'm 100% behind. I think it's a good idea for us to look at it annually to make sure that we continue to be able to support our heritage grants. In the meantime, this is our way of walking our talk about supporting homelessness and housing and other initiatives. And I just want to say thank you. It was a great idea.
Any other comments, questions? Councillor McDonald.
Through you, Mayor Waters. And so I guess I want to ask the question, where is that 2% coming from for the seed money? Can I just get better clarification on that?
My suggestion would be to not do the 2% to Heritage and do 2% to a housing reserve fund for this year.
Yeah. Through you, Mayor Waters. Based on some matters that have come before us about Heritage recently, I think in September, and how they're using those funds, I don't think I'm willing to take away from that at the moment. I think we could do part of it. I'm okay with that. But I'd honestly like to hear from the Heritage folks first on the committee about that first.
Okay, so maybe to get some clarification. So the 2%, what does that represent in real term dollars? And then that's and also an understanding of what you'd mentioned that there was something like 200,000 in their reserve, but maybe start with what does that represent in real term dollars?
Yeah, certainly. Through the mayor, the 2% would equate to $54,000, and that is based on what the anticipated proceeds from 2025 would be. Understanding that the OLG funding proceeds are subject to fluctuation, I can't say definitively what those would be beyond the confines of the 2026 year, obviously, but using the estimates that we have in place, that would be equate to $54,000 of the OLG proceeds at 2%.
So I'll just follow up with myself for a second here. So I think the ask on Councillor Wilton is do sort of a one-time to provide some seed, which is around approximately 56,000, with the idea then would either be this council or the next council would look at that again next year. But I know one of the priorities of our council has been on the housing component and really getting some ability to be able to do whether it's a report or something, because right now we don't have any monies in that type of fund that way. And it's not to say that we've given up on Heritage. It's just they do have a little bit of a purse there to continue the good works that they're doing, and then this would provide us an opportunity to maybe initiate something as it relates to the housing. Is that my understanding? Okay. Yes, we'll go Councillor McDonald and then Councillor Jefferson.
Through you, Mayor Waters, economic development, about the same amount, and we're making some changes to economic development with the MAT Corporation. So could we not use those funds to seed this housing committee that we already talked about? Did you have another strategy for that seed committee that we've already talked about before this came forward today?
Through the mayor, I did not have another alternative in terms of seed dollars to fund that committee future state. That said, the Economic Development Reserve is in a similar position. It's been relied on heavily over the last couple of years, with the funding from OLG being directed to termite management as an alternative. And we're also seeing that the market is such that the sales have kind of slowed. That's not to say that their conversations can't be moving forward in terms of the business park land sales, which is effectively the funding source for economic development future state. And I can't comment on the MSC at this point. It's early days, so I can't say definitively quite what that would look like absent this allocation from the OLG.
A follow-up? Okay.
Get back.
Through Mayor Waters, there is a little bit of pressure on the Economic Development Reserve in that we incurred debt to acquire the business park lands, and that is being paid back through the Economic Development Reserve. So we have an internal pressure to maintain a balance there, and going back to having 2% economic development would help alleviate that.
Perhaps just piggybacking on CAO Wilson's comments, in addition to the pressures with the debt to purchase the land for the business park, they are also a contributor to the operations center, which mitigates the tax implications of that build. So funding pressures from a number of different avenues, certainly as it pertains to economic development presently.
Councillor McDonald?
Through you, Mayor Waters. So if you could refresh my memory, when we talked about funding our housing committee, how was staff suggesting we do that before this came forward today? Like, were you expecting that we were just going to alter all of these, or did you have a plan that you were going to take a portion and of the OLG funds from the capital that you've dedicated? I just feel like maybe we should take a piece from each category. I just don't want to drain one over the other.
Through Mayor Waters, sorry, if you could clarify your question. Are you talking about what our future plans were for funding the Housing Reserve Fund? Was that your question?
Yes.
Okay. So through Mayor Waters, as you'll recall, Council passed a report recently to initiate a housing action plan. So it would be through the housing action plan and the potential establishment of a housing advisory committee that the uses and sources of funds for housing would be established. And that's an initiative we would start next year. So we haven't really established long-term funding for housing at this point.
I think okay, then Councillor Wilton.
Thank you, Mayor Waters, and through you. Yeah, I think to your questions too, I saw this as an opportunity to be slightly proactive and following up on a great presentation, Collingwood, by their Housing Action Task Force. Their task force did some interesting things like public relations campaigns where they would have needed some money to do things like they had hats, like Ask Me About Housing and little things like that. So I don't see it as a big, huge kind of, it's $56,000, $54,000 to $56,000, but maybe it would fund a small research report, for example, or maybe it would fund some of that PR campaigns or different things. So to me, it's still, we only passed that other report, I think in September 29th, actually. So it's early days for that, but moving forward for 2026, it gives a little bit of seed money for next activities and next steps in that fund. So thank you.
Yeah, and we were at the right time in terms of when we're talking about OLG funding allocation policy. This is when we talk about these things, and if there are things that are, obviously I think generally we're satisfied with things, how we're going. But I think one of the mandates of this council, this is going back right from day one, is the housing and trying to figure out affordability. And that's a huge one for our community because it affects us hugely in terms of economically. If we don't have people that can't afford to live in this community, that affects everybody. So if there's a ability to put some money aside to look at the type of program to initiate, I think that's good. And we'll be called out, frankly, for not doing something like this, because I hear it all the time. You guys hear it all the time when you're out there in terms of what are we doing for affordable housing. So anyways, Councillor McDonald.
Yeah, and just to follow up on that, Mayor Waters, I guess what I'm trying to say in simple format here is that why wasn't that presented to us when we're talking about the OLG funds? We've been talking about housing, housing, housing. Why is it as council to switch it up? Why isn't that presented for me or for council? That's what I'm after. Those ideas could have come forward from staff.
No, I can understand that. And we did kind of do the same process a little bit, but not to the, I think you had a little more heads up when we went to the termites as well. So it's something, I'm not saying it's fun, I'll call it discretionary funds, but it's sort of discretionary funds because it's ultimately up to council to decide where we go with this. But yes, I appreciate your concerns that way. So, okay, yes, Councillor McDonald.
So it goes to, could we take some from heritage, some from economic development to seed this committee that we put in place? Is that a possibility?
I guess the question goes to, and I'm not, is whether the 56. It is a sum of money. Yes, it is. But is it appropriate? Is it enough or not enough? Or I don't know. That's the other part of it. You might have enough for, it may not make sense, but to make sort of an impact, you probably have 56, to make an impact on something. So, yeah, especially if you're hiring consultants, as some of us know who are consultants. Any other comments, questions? Okay. Yes, Councillor Wilton.
Can I suggest an amendment to the recommendation then? Oh, Kim had a question.
Go ahead, Kim.
Thank you, Mayor Waters. Just to clarify to Adam, with the Heritage Reserve, you were saying the balance is at like north of 200, like 220 to like in there, and that the grant initiatives is 87,000 that comes out of there. Is there other things that would have to come out of the reserve fund for like 2026 that would drain that account totally, or would it be sufficient to say that it'd be around the 87,000 would be the only outgoing expense?
Yep, through the mayor. At present, the way the budget resides in draft form from the staff perspective, it would be contributions from the reserve of approximately 87,000. There's nothing else envisaged at this time. However, without a full understanding of what the 2026 grant program might look like, it's our best guess at this point.
Councillor Wilton.
So if I can suggest an amendment, that the Council of Centre Wellington amends the OLG allocation policy to direct 2% of the funds towards a housing reserve fund instead of to heritage in 2026.
Councillor Evoy.
Through you, sir, can we say for 2026? That way we're acknowledging that it's for 1 year.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? So yes, Councillor Adams. Oh, okay. So let me just read this once.
Read mine and see if it works, just because I've already got it written. But if it's not good enough, I can change it. Right.
Okay. That the Council Township of Centre Wellington proposed 2% heritage allocation be redirected to housing reserve for 2026.
Does that work too?
Okay, so I will so start with that. And then include
a seconder.
Yeah. So I'll read that and then add that on. Or I could just do it.
We'll have to fix the, I think this is the amendment, and then we'll have to fix the next one.
Right.
So you have to vote on
vote on the amendment, and then we'll look to fix the other one.
So I'll read this again. That the Council of Township of Centre Wellington proposed 2% heritage allocation be redirected to housing reserves for 2026. Councillor Wilton, Councillor Adams. Okay. Any further comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Okay, that's so moved.
Okay, so I haven't had a chance to do this one yet.
I'll let us just take a 2-minute break here. I'll finish this off.
So I'm proposing to take out the yellow part.
Okay, so I'll read this next section first, just for your for you to take it in. That the Council of Township of Centre Wellington authorize the mayor and clerk to sign a bylaw to amend the OLG funding allocation policy as amended, and that the Council of Township of Centre Wellington directs staff to use the council amended in the 2026 budget. With the policy to be reviewed as part of the 2027 budget.
Right. You missed the word policy though. So it's use the council amended policy. Right.
Where's that? Sorry, I didn't see that.
Direct staff to use the council amended.
I thought I read that, but.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I thought yes, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I did read that. Okay. Do you have okay. Are we all good with that? Okay. Do you have a mover on that? Councillor McDonald, seconder on that. Councillor Craddock. Okay. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? So moved. Okay. So there we are. Thank you. Let's move down to bylaws. 12.1. A bylaw 2025-70, a bylaw to amend the Township Centre Wellington zoning bylaw 2009-045 as amended to authorize the creation of additional residential units in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. So now, how does this one work?
Actually, we're going to have to add a third one here because
So do you want me to go to the next one? I can drop down and then come back to that one.
Okay.
Okay. So then next bylaw 2025-72, a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the licensing amendment agreement between the Corporation of the City of Owen Sound and the Corporation of the Township of Centre Wellington regarding the operation of Guelph Owen Sound transportation service within the township. Okay.
Nope, you're good. You're good.
Oh, yep. I didn't read that one though. 2025-71.
Okay. We can just add the word. Establish. I think we're good.
Okay.
Unless you want to do it separately. I think it works.
No, I'll read that.
Okay. I didn't change it.
Okay. And the bylaw 2025-71, a bylaw to establish a policy with respect to the allocation and use of Ontario lottery and gaming funding by the municipality and to repeal bylaw 2024-69. And then I'll read that doesn't change any of the recommendations. So the recommendation that the bylaws 2025-70 through 2025-72 be read a first, second, and third time and pass, signed by the mayor and clerk and corporate seal affixed. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Wilton, seconder on that. Councillor Jefferson. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? So moved. Notice of motions. Motions where notice have been given. Confirmatory bylaw. A bylaw to confirm the actions of council. A recommendation that bylaw 2025-73 to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held November 10th, 2025 be introduced a first, second, and third time and passed in open council. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor McDonald, seconder on that. Councillor Adams, any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? So moved. Do I have a mover for adjournment? Councillor Wilton, secretary, Councillor Craddock. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? So moved. Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely evening.